these particular places. As part of the Chamber, we are a nonprofit private entity, and we serve the business community and the community at large. We focus on supporting small businesses through a variety of programs and activities. And candidate forums are one of the activities that we typically at large. So we're very grateful that you're here. And again, we're very grateful to all the candidates and their willingness to be here and share with you about their platforms. In regards to the Weslaco Chamber of Commerce, our mission is, together with our partners, we provide leadership to advance a prosperous economy that enhances quality of life in our community. And events such as these do just that, as they inform our community of the constituents for these particular places. Tonight's event, we do want to remind you that there will be no endorsements allowed today, as our goal is to provide an avenue for candidates to share their platform and speak to our members and community at large. We're glad that you're here. We do ask that if you can please silence your phones to respect our candidates and their responses this evening. And I do want to remind you that tonight's candidate forum is not a debate, but rather a presentation style event. And we say this each time because we will not be entertaining questions from the audience. However, we will have a moderator who will be asking questions to our candidates this evening, and we'll be hearing their responses. So again, I do want to ask that the audience do silence their cell phones, again, to support our candidates this evening. Tonight's moderator is a assistant professor of South Texas College, Ms. Vanessa Mora. I want to thank her for taking time to be our moderator today, as she will be asking the questions to our candidates this evening. And once again, I do want to thank all of our candidates for taking time to be with us today and share with us your platform. At this time, I would like to welcome and introduce Ms. Vanessa Mora.
Thank you, Ms. Barbara. I'd like to thank Ms. Barbara and Mr. Montes for inviting me here to be your moderator today. Like she said, my name is Vanessa Mora. I am from South Texas College. I'm an assistant professor with the Criminal Justice Department. We educate students in our program to prepare them for careers that encompass the criminal justice field, including municipal, state, and federal law enforcement and criminal justice careers. So with that in mind, enough about me. I'd like to, at this time, go ahead and give each of the candidates an opportunity to begin with their opening statements. So I'll go ahead and I'll begin here with Ms. Dr. Rodriguez. You can go ahead and begin with your opening statement.
Thank you. Well, good evening. Before I get started, I want to thank the Chamber and all those involved in putting this forum together to give the community an opportunity to meet the candidates there. My name is Dr. Jaime Rodriguez. I'm your current Weslaco WISD Place 4 trustee. Tonight, I hope to earn your support by answering some key questions that will be asked here in this forum. I am the son of Alfredo and Marisela Rodriguez. My father is a retired school teacher from Weslaco, and my mom is a current Weslaco ISD employee for almost 50 years now as a school nurse. And they're the reason why I'm here today. You know, I'm a lifelong resident of Weslaco, born and raised, and very proud of that. Very proud of, the fact that I've, lived here all my life. I am a product of the Weslaco school system, as were my parents, my wife, Jessica, and my three children, Jacob, Ileana, and Josh. They all excelled academically and athletically here with the school district, and took advantage of a lot of the offerings that they had their time here. Right now, they're furthering their education at University of Houston and the University of Texas in Austin. As for myself, I'm an optometrist, and I've been practicing for over 20 years now. And I have my current practice is in Weslaco, and I have one in San Benito also. For me, as a member of the community, as a member of the school board, it's always been a lifelong goal to serve my community, to give back to the community. And we've done this in many ways, whether it's in scholarships, in mentoring students, in sponsorships, supporting civic organizations. And I look forward to continue to do this. This started way before I was a school board member, and it'll continue after I stop my service as a school board member. Again, my name is Dr. Jaime Rodriguez, and I am asking re-election for Weslaco WISD, Place 4.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Ms. Trevino?
Yes, hello, everybody. My name's Dr. Edith Trevino, ET. Just a little bit about me. I was in the Army Reserves for 6 years, many years ago. I take a lot of pride in that and having served my country. I'm a mother of 5 children. All of them, my 3 boys have actually graduated from Weslaco schools. I have one at West Point, the other one at Kansas, in Kansas at Ottawa University, and another one of my sons who's the president of his own company. I believe in education. I've been a teacher for 25 years. I'm bilingual, hablo español. I'm very proud of that. I believe that when we reach a time in our lives when we're able to give back to the community, that we do that. And, you know, that's why I'm running. Now, my lived experiences have taken me all over the United States. In the military, lived in Missouri, I lived in Virginia, I lived in El Paso as I attended UTEP. My doctorate is in education. My work takes me all over the state of Texas, where I'm able to empower districts and I'm able to see best practices, what other districts are doing. I'm very proud of my family. I'm very proud of my culture. I'm very proud of my language, and I love Weslaco. My children were born in Weslaco many years ago, and you know, I'm a firm believer that when a community embraces you, that it's only logical that we give back. So I'm very excited to be here and very grateful for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trevino. Ms. Sanchez?
Good evening. I'm Paula Sanchez, and I'm on my board, or actually on my postings, you see Paula Mata Sanchez, and I'm very proud of that. I'm seeking a position for the Weslaco School Board, Place 5. I am married to my husband of 35 years, and I have 2 young adult children, Ashley and Austin. I'm a 3rd-generation Weslaco native and have lived in Weslaco all my life. I am a graduate of Weslaco High School, class of 1985. Currently, I'm an adult education supervisor for Region 1 and hold a master's degree in educational leadership. I also have worked with in many aspects in my education field, 24 years in education. I've worked as a human resource secretary, an office clerk, an instructional assistant, a coach, assistant principal, campus behavior coordinator. I handled a lot of the discipline in my campus. LPAC administrator, attendance and truancy administrator. I was in charge of the maintenance and custodians and served in several committees when I was in the education field with the school district. I was in ARD, site-based committees, and superintendent advisory committee. And also, I was also an English department head. I've also worked with, I believe that I'm a very strong advocate of students, and that's who I am. I have a passion for my education and for the education of our students. That is what empowers me, is to move them forward. And hopefully, as your candidate and hopefully as your future board member, that's what I want to do, is empower those children. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez. Mr. Castillo?
Thank you. Good evening. My name is Benjamin Castillo, and I'm running for School Board Place 5. I was born in Weslaco. I was raised in Mercedes, but I came to Weslaco as fast as I can. Professionally, what I do, I'm an attorney. I represent school districts all over the state. Again, it's a position that helps me see best practices at the board level. For a living, I represent school boards and superintendents. I advise them on a daily basis. I have the honor and privilege to be able to see what's going on in all other places of the state. And if elected, if you guys give me the opportunity to come to Weslaco, my goal is to bring those best practices here and to try to keep the progress moving in Weslaco ISD. I think together we can do it. I think Weslaco is right on the verge of becoming great. If you look at their academic accountability ratings, they're an 89. They're right there. All they need is a little bit of direction, and I have the professional experience and knowledge to be able to do that. So if elected, that's my goal, that's my plan, and that's what I want to do for y'all. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Mr. Sanchez? Science, I'm sorry.
Hi, my name is Homer Sines. My father is Judge Sines. My mother is Maria Sines. We've been in this community over 50 years. I attended Donna High School graduated from Pan Am. Currently working as a system engineer at USA in San Antonio, but I can work remotely. 6 years ago, I moved back to the Valley, and I've been living here in Weslaco for the 6 years. My wife, Ana Castillo, Signs, she's from here. We have a lot of history here, a lot of service here. I'd like to bring that service to the community. As soon as I moved back into the Valley, the first thing I did was join the Rotary because I believe that that's where my service is. My service is given to the community, helping the community out. And I believe that I can be a great school board member in making decisions that are right for the students, right for the faculty, and right for the district. I think that what we have now is a good direction. We just need better practices to follow that through. And with the students that we have, we can go forward and move this Weslaco into a better place. I would appreciate your vote and support for place 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sines. Ms. Quintanilla?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Diana Quintanilla. I have about 18 years in school districts, administration in various aspects. I'm currently a child nutrition director. I've been a supervisor for safety and risk department, putting together plans of action for emergencies. I've been a school district accountant for about 10 years. Pretty much everything that comes in and out of the school district, I've been part of it, been part of several audits conducted by the state, locally, federal audits. I, like Homer, graduated from Donna. I was born in Weslaco, raised in Donna, graduated from Donna. I've been living in Weslaco for about 25 years. My mom was a teacher here in Weslaco for 38 years. She's now a retired teacher. As is most of my family, I come from a family of a lot of Weslaco ISD retired teachers. My daughter's a Weslaco East graduate. And one of the main reasons I'm running is because I want to make a difference. You know, I like to advocate for due process, for fairness, for having every child be on the same line, starting line, pretty much. You hear of those that fall through the cracks and those that feel that others are entitled. I'd like to just say that I'd like to be that advocate for those students that don't have a voice in the system. I want to bring them all up to par to where the minute the day starts, they're all starting at the same line. Many don't know what they face at home, financially, mentally, physically, financially, and I like to be a voice for all those students. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Quintanilla. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and begin with the questions. I'd like to remind the forum here that you have 1 minute to answer the question. If you could just keep your eye on the timekeeper. And I'm going to go ahead and begin with the first question. What has motivated you to run for office? So I'm going to go ahead and start here with Dr. Rodriguez.
Thank you. So my main reason is simple, is to make a difference. And to me, being on the school board gives me that opportunity to make a difference for our students, for our educators, and for our community as a whole. But you know, it didn't just start with being on the school board. Like I said in my intro, I've going back to before my school board years, I made it a goal to give back, to give service in any way possible, just to make sure that we can grow as a community, and in my situation as a school board trustee, make a difference for and impact a lot of lives throughout the community and make our community a better community. And that's the reason why I'm motivated to run for school board.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Dr. Trevino?
I was motivated to run, and I actually have a list. It starts with micromanagement of the district in the last 8 years, in the last 2 terms. You can find those in the Weaver report. We go back to funding of our teachers. Inappropriate funding, our teachers should have been paid, and staff, instead of going back 8 years, we have to go back only 4 years. $40 million during my opponent's term between 2017 and 2019 did not go to critical improvements. It actually led to high interest loans, high interest debt loans from 2017 to 2019 that are causing everybody here that's a taxpayer over $2 million a year, okay? over 16 schools need roofs and new AC systems. It's gonna cost about $60 million. Grievances that have not been heard, counselors that are understaffed and the budget is not there, a tax rate that was mismanaged and may hurt the taxpayers in 2023, 2024.
Thank you, Dr. Trevino. Mrs. Sanchez?
The reason that I'm running for school board is because I see missed opportunity. Weslaco has always been a city that shines. And I believe that Weslaco has already lost some of that shine with the stuff that's going on with the school and the school board right now. It upsets me to the point where I get calls daily about the hiring practices. I want to make those, I was part of the Weaver report. I'm on page 17. And that for me was a key reason why I'm running, because some of these, we have a lot of qualified people here in Weslaco and we're looking elsewhere. And for me, that speaks volumes. We need to start looking at Weslaco first before we do anything else, looking outside to other districts to hire other employees from other districts or personnel from other places. Weslaco should be first. And we need to give opportunity to our teachers for advancement. We also need to give fair raises and make sure that we're paid accordingly. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trevino. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry, Ms. Sanchez. Mr. Castillo?
Thank you. So my motivation to run for office is advocacy for students. I've unknowingly made advocacy for students my life's work. As soon as I was eligible to run for public office, I did. I ran when I was 18 for school board in Mercedes. I won. And I served for 5.5 years. After that, I went to law school and became an attorney that represents school districts. So for the past 15 years, I have been working with school districts. I have sat on a board of trustees, and I have been representing schools as an attorney for the past 10 years. So every day, every single thing that I do is to advocate for the public student in Texas. And what I want to do is I want to bring that to Weslaco, because to me, students are first. And that's the whole purpose for a school board, is to advocate for students. And that's what I want to do. That's what motivated me to run.
Thank you. Mr. Sines?
What motivated me to run was to serve the community. I'd like to bring and build trust with the community, with the district, with the personnel, so that we can provide better services for our teachers and for our students, that we can have programs which will help build better trust between us and the board and the teachers and the whole district in a whole. I think that being here for the students, for the teachers, is where we begin. And I think that having some honesty, integrity, and being accountable for some of our choices will be important for us to do. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Quintanilla?
What motivated me to run is I have, a lot of friends and family that are teachers, and it seems like the past 2.5 years have just been, I guess, the worst 2.5 years in most of our lifetimes. And what kind of gets me the most is to hear a teacher, a friend of mine that's so motivated to teach, lose their spark. You know what I mean? They don't want to teach anymore. They want to look for another profession. And it seems that everywhere you go, you hear the same thing again and again. I wish I wouldn't have been a teacher. I want to look into doing something else. And I feel that as a member of this community, if I can be part of that change and that process, then I would be giving some of myself back to the community. But at the end of the day, if you want the students to succeed, you have to have happy teachers teaching those students. So.
Thank you, Ms.
Thank you.
Quintanilla. I'm going to go ahead and ask the next question, and I'm going to start with Ms. Quintanilla answering first and work our way this way. How does your profession experience relate to education, or what contribution do you plan to make to the district that relates to your professional experiences?
As much as we don't want to face it, at the end of the day, everything revolves around funding. No one works for free, and we do not want to be buying supplies out of our own pocket. I have been in the trenches and have led or participated in over 20 audits for compliance and the uses of our finances. I know how the accounting works and how the funds can and cannot be used. I have the experience in all the management areas of a school district. I have supervised over 180 employees at one time, and I'm well aware of human resource policies and laws. I am about equal pay and know how to advocate to level out the compensation plans to make sure that employees feel appreciated and in turn increase the district's morale. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
In my current profession as system engineer, one of the things that we do is we make decisions based on logic, not an emotion, but what's best for the community, what's best for the district, what we can do to provide better services, and how we can move forward. Not looking at individuals, but looking at it as a business and saying we can, as a board, right, create good policies and make things better for the district. And starting with teacher salaries, retaining teachers, and making sure that we have the right people in place to make the right decisions.
Thank you. Next candidate.
My professional experience is directly on point. I go to school board meetings every night, except for the Tuesday when this board meeting is, when Weslaco WISD school board meetings are. For example, today, I did an agenda review, preparing for a board meeting for another district. I review contracts on the personnel side. That's 80% of my practice. I deal with personnel issues all the time. Another area of expertise that I have in my law firm is governance, board governance specifically, school board governance. So my professional experience is directly on point. And the reason I'm running and the reason I wanted to run is I wanted to bring that knowledge and experience that I've gained over the last 10 years representing school boards all across the state, bring it to Weslaco ISD for free. So thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Yes, ma'am. In my case, I bring a wealth of knowledge in education. I have 24 years experience in all assets of education. Like I said before, I've been an HR secretary. I know about HR. I've been an office clerk. I know about what office clerks go through. I've been an assistant principal. I've been a teacher, a coach. I have a lot of different areas where I have touched students in many, many different ways. I'm an advocate, like I said, for students. Currently, I'm working for Region 1. I'm an adult ed supervisor. And that is very important because not all students can graduate because life happens. This is why we have also Region 1. We also have GED classes, free GED classes for students. And we also do IET classes for students. So that way they can become important people in the workforce. So again, we also advocate for students at all levels. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Well, as I mentioned before, my experience having been a teacher for 25 years in the private and public sector, having been an administrator, having served in the United States military, all of that plus life experience. You know, as teachers, we have to know the pedagogy, and administrators, we have to know federal funds, Title III funds, Title I funds. And that's all important to know on a school board, because if somebody's asking you to allocate funds, you have to know if that is the correct information that they're giving you or if it's incorrect information. And I think that's why we are where we are right now, that we, where the business office has admitted to mismanagement of taxpayer dollars because the board is not informed on, it goes beyond the classroom and it goes beyond working with kids. It has to do with legal aspects as well.
Thank you. Next candidate.
For myself, I think I have a perspective of being a business owner and being a healthcare provider. And I think in that regards, I can bring something to the table as a board member. I'm used to running a business, a practice, dealing with employees and morale. And as a healthcare provider, I have firsthand knowledge as to what it takes to become a doctor or some profession. So in my daily interactions with students who come through my office, we discuss, what the opportunities are, what the district has to offer. And I think in my situation, I have that unique opportunity to approach it from the business side and from a healthcare provider. And in every conversation that, I have with, our student patients, I encourage them to go to school, stay in school, and get their education, come back and support Weslaco.
Thank you. Thank you for your responses. Our next question is on the topic of school safety regarding gun control and terroristic threats. How would you utilize your term in office to address this growing concern for educators and families? And I'll go ahead and begin here with Dr. Rodriguez.
So this is definitely a big topic right now in today's world. And as a school district and being on the board and seeing what we can do, there's different avenues. Right now we utilize school resource officers throughout the district. There's also the option of having a school district police force. There's different options that are out there for the district, but we need to just make sure we think outside the box, look at different options that we have in order to provide that safe environment for our students.
Thank you. Dr. Trevino?
Yes, I will answer that by asking, what has the current board done right now for safety control in our schools? Actually, all we have for elementary schools is a police officer patrolling our schools, which is fine, but we can go deeper. There's other districts that are going far and above and beyond. Just yesterday, my opponent voted to have the election at 2 campuses. You don't believe me, watch the report, watch the audio. Putting our children at risk on the day of voting. There's no way to check these people for weapons. There's no way to check these people's licenses. They're going there to vote, but it's also an open opportunity for crime, for someone to get snatched from the streets. So my question is not what are you going to do? What are you doing right now? What have you done in the last 8 years? Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Sanchez?
Yes. School safety is very important. My husband has been with the district for 38 years, and he is a security guard. And I worry for him all the time because times are changing, and we have to roll with the times. Like I said, there has to be a lot of training, and I know that they go through rigorous training, but you will never know until something happens, drastically happens, and are we trained for that? We can only pray that things don't get out of hand ever. We need to make sure we have protective measures in place. And if we're looking at maybe possible, and I'm trying to think the word, if we can get making sure that our security guards are staffed, our campuses are staffed with security guards, and we also need to make sure that we have police officers on campus. I believe that is a good deterrent. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Castillo?
So this is something that's on every school district's mind, and everybody's trying to figure out. My thought is I think we need to explore the possibility of a Weslaco WISD police department. Currently the district allocates around $3.2 million for safety and security. I think we need to analyze to see if that's a lot of money, right? To see if that money's being expended in a logical way and an efficient way to ensure the safety of all the campuses. But one of the things that I would like to do personally is explore the possibility of a Weslaco WISD police department, and then explore the possibility of partnerships with Weslaco PD in the county to ensure the most coverage at all campuses.
Thank you for your response. Mr. Sines?
What I'd like to see is more parent volunteers. We should get our parents in there, those that have the opportunity to be involved. In San Antonio, when I was there, we had some watchdog dads, and what they did was they'd spend one day out of their week going to the school and hanging around. Well, we have single point of entries, and then anybody who is not past the credentials can get checked in or being alerted by security quickly. Partner with the Weslaco PD, making sure that we have the ability to contact when a crisis arises. And then as well as we are starting, I believe the Crime Stoppers is now going into the schools and making opportunities so that we can report those things at first glance.
Thank you, Mr. Sines. Ms. Quintanilla?
Although nowadays we think that safety measures and these safety issues came about because of Uvalde, but in fact, these threats and occurrences happened way before Uvalde. I used to be a safety and risk supervisor for a school district, and there was a lot of back-end work that happened to put protocols and checks and balances into place to know how to react. We all know that everybody's now aware of safety issues because of all those officers that reported to that district and nothing was done. When in fact, behind the scenes, you have to have committees, you have to have chains of command, you have to have the funding, you have to have the protocol, when to notify the parents, how to notify the parents, how to react, and how to take action. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quintanilla. Our next question. With mental health concerns and bullying on the rise, what can be done to address this and provide some support and relief to educators, students, and families? And I'm going to go ahead and begin on that end with Mrs. Quintanilla.
First of all, we need to identify those who have mental health concerns, then set up plans of action to counsel or treat these students and staff. We also have staff that have mental health concerns to get the help they need. As far as bullying, I don't know where Weslaco stands as far as implementing the David's Law, but I know that other districts are very strict about it, but it's very hard to enforce to hold a student liable for a law that they're not even aware that they're violating. So I would like to implement some kind of trainings and to teach the children what this law and why it exists and how they could be held accountable, because a bully's not going to stop until somebody stops them. And a lot of times a student doesn't come forward in fear that nothing will get done and retaliation for reporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
I believe that we can address this by identifying, building better programs to identify and train the professionals and the students through workshops, giving them an avenue to report this anonymously so that they can have the ability to identify things that are crises that begin before. Bullying that goes on in the school, that they can reach out to somebody, have a counselor, somebody they can trust, and then maybe form some peer groups. Maybe the students themselves can have an avenue to talk to each other, express what's going on. Furthermore, teach those that are younger than them, giving them an opportunity to show them that there are ways that they can combat this and that they won't be bullied in schools.
Thank you. Next candidate.
So one thing that I'd like to do, that I would like to explore with the rest of the board and the administration, if I'm elected, is look at the allocation of funding for licensed professional counselors in the district, and look at the possibility of implementing some type of wraparound services for all students and staff, including staff, because the last 2 years, I mean, as everybody knows, have been difficult, especially on teachers. And so we're able to provide some type of mental health service to all students and teachers. I think that will be a great benefit to the district. It will help alleviate a lot of these issues that our teachers and students are going through, and would benefit our children greatly. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Well, with mental health, we have to always be advocates and great listeners towards our students. They're the ones that will let you know what's going on. We have to listen to our students. We also have to provide great counseling services. And we also have to make sure that we have people in place to make sure that students have somebody that they can go to, a go-to person. With mental health also, sometimes you just don't see the signs. So you have to pay close attention. You have to make sure that you are observant, especially the adults in the building, in the school buildings. We have to make sure that we are advocates towards our students and make sure that we listen to them. As far as bullying is concerned, we always have to make sure that we have something in place to make sure that the students understand that bullying, we can't be doing it. It would be nice for us to have the high school students mentor the younger elementary students and have some type of mentorship program like that. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
we're talking about what we can do to help our students with social emotional. And the state of Texas has created the positive character traits for all grade levels. But the question is here, we don't have enough counselors. At the high school level, you have, the superintendent yesterday said 350 per student. That's not true. Per counselor, that's not true. Go into our elementary schools. How many kids do you have? How many counselors do you have? How many of those counselors are able to support our kids? You have one counselor and 800 kids. How are you going to make that happen? And then on the second token, you have our superintendent using profanity, cursing out our counselors, our most precious people. So I think it starts at the top, and we need more counselors, we need more funding. Once we have that, then we can come up with an actual plan to help our children. And it's all connected also to safety. They're all both interconnected. And my question is to you is what is the current board doing about that right now as we speak? Not in the future, right now. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
In regards to mental health, and I think it starts with removing that stigma of not wanting to speak out or ask for help. And I think in providing training and classes for our students, for our educators, we want to remove that stigma so that they can get the help that they need, and we can offer the services that are needed to help them through the stressors of their daily lives there. In regards to bullying, bullying is definitely something that is a big problem in certain areas, and we need to definitely make sure that we have consequences and follow through with whatever punishment there might be for people or students who are bullying other students there.
Thank you. Thank you, candidates, for your responses. Next question. Retaining good teachers is a challenge. As a school board member, what can be done to make certain good teachers don't leave the district? Mr. Rodriguez, Dr. Rodriguez?
So for that question, the easy answer is, high pay, high benefits, or good benefits, which is definitely at the priority and at the top of the list to retain our good teachers and our educators. But and aside from pay and benefits, something that wouldn't cost too much is just valuing our teachers, appreciating their work, showing them and supporting them in any way possible, so that they can do the job that they need to do in educating our students and to make them the most successful students that they can be.
Thank you. Dr. Trevino?
Again, it goes back to what is our school board doing right now to keep teachers. And so the reality is that our classrooms are busting at the seams. Our district has waivers, middle school and high school, with 30, 40 students. Why can't we give our teachers a raise? As you know, and if you go back and look at the videos and the meetings from August, teachers have been underpaid for the last 8 years, and they are still there in the classroom teaching our children, teaching your children, and they will only be compensated for 4 years. So any teacher from here, who's going to want to stay? And they're still staying because that's how much they're committed to our children. But it starts again, what are we doing? Not what are we going to do? What are we doing right now at this moment to keep our teachers here? And I know it's uncomfortable for some of you, that are moaning and making noises, but I get it. The truth hurts and it's uncomfortable. But that's why you need board members that are going to be here and truly advocate for teachers.
Thank you. Next candidate.
In order to retain teachers, you have to, of course, give them good pay and good benefits. You also need to let them teach. A lot of the times we don't, because we overload them with extra duties that they don't need. Me as a former teacher, I recall having to do a lot of extra stuff that wasn't not needed because I needed to teach. We also have to have good professional development for these teachers. Do not overload them with professional development that doesn't do anything for them. You need to also ask the teachers what kind of professional development that they want for themselves for professional growth. You cannot just assume that they're going to a one-size-fits-all. Every teacher has a different need, and we need to make sure that we are making sure that we pay attention to that. And also, we also need to give them opportunities to advance. We need to make sure that our teachers have an opportunity to advance and do something different and not just pick the same people over and over again. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
So I think it is simple, and I think it's three things. You got to pay them more, you got to leave them alone, and you have to respect them. So in reviewing the budget and its function by function, Weslaco ISD spends $8 million on professional development. A neighboring district spends $3 million. That's double the size of Weslaco ISD. So my thought is, let's cut that to 3 or around there and use that $5 million to pay the teachers more and leave them alone and respect them. So that's my thought.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
I think better teacher recognition. I think we can incentivize our teachers. We can be creative in the way we pay them. We can take those teachers that have done really well in their classes and have done well in their schools and use those teachers to help lead our workshops for the teachers, and then have those on those professional staff development days, use those teachers to teach what they've learned or what they're using, and then incentivize them through those workshops.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
Yes, what I want to say is, coming from a family of teachers, my mom has 6 siblings that are retired teachers. And all my life, I grew up hearing the good and the bad and the ugly. And I want to say that the difference of what I see in here still is back then, each teacher had a teacher aide, right? And then it went to 1 teacher aide per 3 classes. And now it's 1 teacher aide per wing, right? So the teacher needs to make copies, she's got to do them on their own time. If they've got to step out to the restroom, do it in your break or your conference. And that kind of lowers the morale. But then again, we can wish for all we want. At the end of the day, if we don't have the funding, then we can't hire that help for the teachers. And that all starts in the budgeting process. Most of the funding for those teacher aides would come out of the local tax funding. And that's where we need to take a look at the staffing, where they're needed, where there's too much staff, and where we can find those funds. Thank you.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to thank all the candidates for their responses to the questions. We're going to go ahead and move on to the closing statements. I just want to remind the candidates that you have 2 minutes for your closing statements. And I'll go ahead and begin here with Dr. Rodriguez.
Once again, thank you to the chamber for putting this event together. As you can see, you know, my approach to this has always been positivity, moving forward, looking at the future. And I think you know, we have a board right now that has that vision, those goals, and I'm honored to have served on this board for the past 5 years. I hope that I will continue to have your trust and support so that I can continue to serve in this capacity. You know, and I would like to, you know, wish the best of luck to all the candidates. No matter what the outcome of this election, I will continue to support students, staff, and my community. Again, my name is Dr. Jaime Rodriguez, and I'm seeking re-election for Weslaco ISD Place 4, and I want to thank everyone for attending tonight.
Thank you, Dr. Rodriguez. Dr. Trevino?
Well, if anybody is the queen of optimism, I would say it's me. But I'm also very much into realistic measures and the reality. And the reality is, whether it hurts you or doesn't hurt you, whether it affects you or not, has nothing to do with friendship or family. It has to do with, in the last 2 terms, our Weslaco ISD school board has failed us, okay? And those of you that don't believe me, just remember me in 2023 when your taxes go up, because of all the misappropriation of funds that have happened. Think about this when you look at the high interest loans that we're paying as a district. When grievances have not been heard, they've been covered up. When we have not enough counselors in our school, there's not enough safety measures taken. It's not about being a good friend on the board. It really isn't. And yes, there are good people on the board. There are, but there's a difference between being on the board and serving. It's like being in the military. You know, are you able to defend your country and defend yourself, or are you just going to let somebody come in and take over? And that's why I'm running. So as a parent of a child right now in our schools, I see everything that's happening. And I know you guys laugh when I say go back and look at the videos, but I do challenge you to go back. And I challenge you to go back and read the report. It has all the information. It has all the names. It has everything that my opponent, who I believe is a kind person, a respectful person, has voted in ways that I believe and are on that audit that are not correct. Okay, so I think 8 years is enough. Thank you so much for your service. And I think that 5 years, I stand corrected. If you haven't done anything in 5 years, what are you gonna do in the next 4? So I say that with all due respect, and everybody here has a choice. And thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Trevino. Mrs. Sanchez?
So you have heard from all the candidates in place 5. Let me tell you why I'm your candidate. Not only have I taught your children, I'm a product of Weslaco. I graduated from Weslaco. I have also lived in Weslaco all my life. I'm a 3rd generation Weslaco native. My children attended Weslaco. They all graduated from Weslaco. I paid taxes in Weslaco. I taught some of your children. I have the best interest for you all. I will work hard for you. I also have to admit that my husband has 38 years, and with me and him are a team. We talk about the students here in Weslaco, and we want nothing but positive things to happen to Weslaco, like in Weslaco. And so what I want to say is I'm an advocate for all children, all students. I'm an advocate for young adults as well. I believe that all students, the goal is to get them to graduate. But I also believe that all students, some students, life happens and they can't graduate. I want to start seeing students probably go into a GED program. Like I said, I work for Region 1 currently. We do offer free GED classes. We want to make sure that students go to higher education. And that's what I'm going to be advocating for. Not all students are one size fits all. We all want them to go to college, yes, but we also have to be realistic. We need to make sure that our students have another option. And if it's not going through college, we have to make sure that we provide skills for the students to be ready in the workforce. This is what we are here to learn, to teach them to be successful adults. And so with that said, I thank you, and I want you to not to forget to vote for me, Paula Mata Sanchez, for place 5. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Sanchez. Mr. Castillo?
So you guys have seen all the candidates tonight. You guys are spoiled. You have great choices in making a determination with respect to who's going to be your next trustee. So, but I guess give me the time to separate myself from the pack. So my experience is my knowledge. I've been a trustee before. I served as a trustee for 5.5 years. The only reason I didn't serve again is because I was in law school. And then I graduated law school, went back to serving kids and advocating for kids every day as an attorney. My experiences, professional and personal, my parents are lifelong educators. My dad retired as a superintendent. My mom is a high school principal. I've been around this my whole life. So much so that even when I became an adult, I stayed around it. I had a choice, and I stayed in this profession because I love it. And so given that opportunity, I think all the knowledge and experience that I have gained could really benefit Weslaco ISD. Again, like I said earlier, Weslaco ISD is right on the verge of being great. They're rated an 89 on their accountability, 1 point away from being an A. Finances, they're rated an A in their first report. Tax rate, lowest in the county, by the way, which is interesting, under $1. So I think just with a little bit of direction, a little bit of goal setting, and a governance framework, the board could really focus on what's important, and that's student outcomes and student achievements. And if given the opportunity, you guys would allow for me to continue my life's work and do something that I love, and continue to serve the children of Weslaco and the state. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castillo. Mr. Sines?
So I'd like to start off with, these are all great ideas we got from everybody on the board. Listening to everybody speak here, wonderful ideas, wonderful ways that we can move Weslaco forward. If I'm elected, I intend to work with everybody on the board and to rebuild the trust within Weslaco and the district, within the board and the district. And then if we have a way that we can make things better, that we together work on the ways to make it better, not to separate ourselves, not to pull ourselves apart, but to be one district for the community. And if elected, I appreciate everyone's support for Place 5.
Thank you, Mr. Sines. Ms. Quintanilla?
Yes, I just want to say I have two number ones on my list, and number one is the students, and number one are the teachers. As much as we can sit here and say, well, we can do this, we should do this, at the end of the day, it's all about the funding. I'm not sure how much of the community out there is aware that Weslaco ISD runs on a $200 million budget, and 83% is salaries. So when you break down the money as far as the tools needed per campus, where are these 180 some million dollars going for salaries? Are these positions needed? Are you overworking somebody else who should have help? And these are things that we need to look at. And if elected, these are the things that I want to look at. I also want to stress how I've been on the inside. I know what to say when the community or board members ask questions. You don't elaborate, you just answer the question and nothing else, because the more you say, the more questions the board could ask or the community. And I can tell you that at the end of the day, most of the money that comes in the district is already earmarked as far as what you can use it for and what you can't. And the very few, I think it's about 25 million that we do have that goes to M&O, which is maintenance and interest on the bonds and on loans that they take out. So when you look at the money at the end of the day, you don't have that much wiggle room to use that local money to help out to get teacher aides or to hire additional staff to support the teachers. And if it's not being used to improve the quality of the education of the students or improving the teacher morale, then what are these positions, what is that money being used for? What kind of positions is that money being used to pay? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Quintanilla. At this time, I'd like to thank all of the candidates for participating in the forum. I'm going to go ahead and turn the mic over back to Mrs. Garza.
Thank you, Ms. Mora, and thank you again to all of the candidates for taking time to be here and share with us your platform on the questions that were asked this evening. I do want to also thank all those who joined us this evening, and I do want to say a special thank you to our chamber members and to our board, who are the reason why we're able to host these events. You may look at other communities and they may not host events like this, but because of our chamber members, we're able to host these forums and bring this information to you. And so we're very grateful to our business community here in Weslaco and to all of the members of our community. I also would like to thank Weslaco ISD K-West, their team, for being amazing and streaming this, making it available online for those who weren't able to be here with us today. And again, I want to thank all of you for being here. Most importantly, we hear all this information and you interpret it, but the next step is to vote. And so please make sure that you show up to the polling sites when it's time. The reason we do these events is to make you a more informed voter so that when you go to the polling site, you know who you're voting for. You have a face to a name. And so please note that early voting begins October 24th and ends November 4th. The polling will start at 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. and we are a voting site here in this facility that you're in today. I will continue on Sunday, October 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. October 31st, November 4th, 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And then, of course, Election Day, Tuesday, November 8th from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It's very important that each of you go and vote and exercise the rights that we have. Again, thank you to all of our candidates and your willingness to be here today and share with us your platform. We appreciate all of you. Thank you to our chamber members, our business community, and the audience who's here today. We do have a forum to follow for places 6 and 7, so we hope that you do stick around to hear from the additional candidates also running for Weslaco ISD School Board. And again, thank you so much for being here. I would like to ask our candidates to stick around for a minute as we take a group photo, and then we'll close up. Thank you very much, everybody. We appreciate your time. We're going to go ahead and get started. So candidates for places 6 and 7. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and we're going to move on with our second candidate forum for the evening. We are moving on to the forum for Weslaco ISD School Board places 6 and 7. I would like to thank all of the candidates for taking time to be with us today and share your platform with us. This evening we are here on behalf of the Weslaco Chamber and our board members. We are very grateful to all of our small business community, our members, and those who help support the Chamber. We are a nonprofit entity here in the community. We are a private organization, and our goal is to support the business community through professional development activities and community support at large. We host events in the community as well. A candidate forum is one of the activities that we host, and the purpose behind that is to be able to support our members and the community at large, learn about the candidates that are running for office in our community. And the goal behind that is to help voters become more informed. I do want to mention that today we do have an organization, it's Battleground Texas, and they are actually registering voters on site today. So if you have not registered to vote, you can do that today before you leave. I do want to read the mission of the Dwesico Chamber of Commerce, because once again, this is the reason that we're here, because our business community has supported us and given us the opportunity to host this event. Together with our partners, we provide leadership to advance a prosperous economy that enhances quality of life in our community. Just a few reminders for this evening's event. We will not allow any endorsements in today's event, as our goal is to provide an avenue for candidates to share their platform and speak to our members and the community at large. For the audience, I want to say thank you for being here today, and I want to ask that you silence your phones in efforts to respect our candidates today. I also want to remind you that today's session is not a debate, but rather a forum and a presentation style event. The candidates will be asked a question and will be given an opportunity to respond. Throughout this evening session, they will have 2 minutes to begin with an opening statement. They will have 1 minute to answer each question, and then 2 minutes for a closing statement today. There will be no audience participation, as mentioned. This is not a rally. We did not mention this in the previous session, but I do want to ask that there is no cheering, no booing, no commentary from the audience during this event. We also want to thank, again, our members and thank the candidates for being here. And I do want to thank the KWES team for helping us put this event together and streaming it online for the online community and those who aren't able to be here today. So to get it started, we do have a moderator for this evening's event. We have Ms. Vanessa J. Mora, Assistant Professor of Criminal Justice at South Texas College, who will be leading us in today's forum. So Ms. Mora, I will go ahead and pass it over to you.
Thank you, Ms. Garza. I'd like to say thank you to Ms. Garza and Mr. Montes for inviting me to be your moderator here today. My name is Vanessa Mora. I am with South Texas College. I am with the Criminal Justice Program, and I am an assistant professor. I teach regular college traditional students. I also teach academy students that come to me from the various high schools to the campus, and I do also go out into the districts and I teach out at the various districts. But enough about me. At this time, I'd like to go ahead and give the candidates an opportunity to go ahead and begin with their opening statements. So at this time, I'm going to go ahead and ask Mr. Cuellar. I want to remind you, you have 2 minutes. And if you could just begin with your opening statement.
Thank you. First of all, I'll like to thank the Chamber for the opportunity to be here today, along with all the candidates that are seeking a place on the school board, and to give the community a chance to put a name to a face for those who don't know who we are. My name is Armando Cuellar Jr. I'm running as Coach Cuellar because that's what I've done for the majority of my adult life. I use coach to identify me because my father is Armando Cuellar and my firstborn is Armando Cuellar. So if you want to know which Armando's running, it's Coach Cuellar. It's something I did for, as it turns out, for 42 years. I taught biology and I taught physical science, and started the anatomy and physiology program when I was at Weslaco. I am married to Nelda, my wife, of 32 years. I have 5 children: Armando, Chris, Mark, Angela Nicole, and JD Cuellar. I have 2 wonderful granddaughters that are here today, Leanna and Addie, my son-in-law, Caleb. Appreciate you all being here. I have my concuño, Hector, and my campaign manager, Melissa Montalvo. Thank you for being here. Other than, serving, it's something that's very rewarding because what we do as public servants is give back to the community that gives a lot to us, and Weslaco would not be what it is today. We didn't have people who took the time to do what's up and what's best for the community, and I appreciate you.
Thank you, Mr. Cuellar. Mr. De La Cruz.
Good evening. My name is Victor Hugo de la Cruz, and first of all, I'd like to thank the Chamber. I think it's incredible what you all do. This is an opportunity that our community gets to meet us and see what we're about. First of all, I'd like to start off by saying that I have the utmost respect for Coach Cuellar. I had the opportunity of working with Coach Cuellar. I don't know if he remembers or not, but he worked at Cauchelsa ISD under, I believe that one of the best products from Weslaco that I had the honor to work with, and that was Dr. Rivera. I was a board member at Cauchelsa, and I learned a lot from that man. And I believe Coach came in and worked for our science. We were looking for a science teacher, and he came in and he honored us with his presence. So thank you, and again, thank you for your service. I mentioned Ed Cauchelsa, and a lot of people have been, asking, why is this guy coming over here? I've lived here for over 12 years. My parents have lived here over 25 years. My daughters, who I have as my advisors, Valeria and Victoria, they're the ones that advise me as to what's going on in school, what are the things that they need. My wife, Araceli, has always backed me up and always been my support. I may not have a lot of family, but I know, I will tell you this, I don't have any compadres here in Weslaco. But what I do have is over 2,500 people that I've entrusted with my pride and joy, my girls. And I know that I'm here to back them up. That's why I'm here. So thank you. And my name again, Victor Hugo de la Cruz. And I want to earn your support this coming November.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Mr. Nieto.
Good evening. I'm Mr. Isidoro Nieto, proud product of Weslaco Independent School District. I was fortunate to go to school here, graduated in 1973, and I was fortunate also to come back to Weslaco and be a college tutor, be a bus driver, be an assistant principal, and then proud to have been principal at Mary Hogue Middle School and Weslaco High School. My wife, who also worked for Weslaco, product of Weslaco. My boys are product of Weslaco, and all my 11 brothers and sisters graduated from Weslaco High School. I believe that with that experience, I've done the best that I can as a board member and that I did as a principal and assistant principal with students. And so in order to continue this quality education for students, we as board members need to collaborate with the superintendent to make sure that we provide the quality education to our students, provide the resources that they need, and we'll move forward. So thank you again for having us here, the Chamber of Commerce, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nieto. Mr. Abrigo?
Good evening. Good evening. I'm Petey Abrigo. I was born and raised here in Weslaco, Texas. My parents both worked for the school district at a total of 85 years. My dad was the ag teacher for 42 years, and my mom worked in the payroll department for 43 years. So, and I'm extremely proud that the ag farm, Weslaco ISD's ag farm, is named after my dad. I also taught here for 11 years. Mr. Nieto was the principal. I have the utmost respect for Mr. Nieto and his leadership when we were both at Weslaco High School. After I graduated from Weslaco High, I went to Texas A&M and got a degree in animal science. I did not go into teaching right after that like my dad wanted me to, but I went into the public sector and was working for Hygeia Dairy Company as their farm manager, and then later their purchasing manager. So after they got bought out by Oak Farms, they shut the farming stuff down, and they had their own people to do purchasing and whatnot. I decided to go back to school to Texas A&M Kingsville to get my teaching certificate to teach ag. That decision was the best decision I've ever did. And then I ended up getting my master's from A&M Kingsville in ag science and educational administration. But my thing is, you know, we as board members need to be transparent, be accountable, and trustworthy. And if we do that, you know, you'll have the staff members that are happy.
Thank you, Mr. Abrigo. Mr. Castañeda?
Hello, good evening, guys. My name is Alfredo Duff Castañeda. I'm from Weslaco, was born and raised in Weslaco. I come from a single mother. I have a very small family. I have my sister, Monica Marie Loera, who graduated from East. I have my brother, Alzi Loera, who graduated from East as well. I graduated in 1997 from Weslaco High School. And to me, the reason, I decided to run is the main one is that it has to do with the teachers and the staff and the students. After 20 years of working at every level in the district, I understand everybody, and that's something unique that a board member needs to understand. And the way I look at it is that at the beginning as a bus driver, I struggled. There was a lot of same issues that are there that continue to grow, right? Because why I don't mention bus drivers, because students and parents get to meet bus drivers every day in the mornings, right? And they are the ones who actually curtail the students into the school. And that's how we understand that's the main point, right? I graduated in 1997 from Weslaco High School, and I decided, somebody had told me, why are you going to college, right? So from there on, I started to determine my determinations y ganas, and with the help of my family, my mother, I decided to go to college, and I proved to myself that I was able to accomplish a task. I have always worked hard to what I've always wanted, and nobody has ever given me anything. So, and that's the same attitude I want to bring into the school board. I want to make a connection again with the community. There is a mistrust of the community, from the community towards the school board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Castañeda. And thank you all for those opening statements and introducing yourself to the community. At this time, I'm going to go ahead and begin with the questions. I want to remind all the candidates that you have 1 minute, and if you could just keep your eye on the timekeeper there for your responses. The first question, all candidates will say they are here for the kids. What makes your platform different? And I'm going to go ahead and begin here with Mr. Cuellar.
Well, our primary purpose is to oversee student performance and outcome, but the platform relates to what's important to that development. That is first and foremost the safety and welfare of not only our students, but our staff that work with our students. Another is that we're working very, very closely with strategies to close the learning gap that was created by the pandemic. Given the circumstances, we have done very well because of the staff that we have in place. So we want to make sure that we take very good care of them to maintain that academic level. And then finally, going along with taking care of staff is to be the best paid staff in the Valley and South Texas. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cuellar. Next candidate.
Yes, when we talk about doing it for the kids, my platform revolves around success. And if I was to sit here and say it wasn't about the kids, well, it is. Everything's about the kids. But when we talk about an environment and creating an environment that's conducive to learning, that's where you need strong people that are going to come forward and they're going to be part. They're not going to shy away. They're going to show up. One of the areas that we talk about is mental health and accessibility to mental health for all teachers, all support staff, and our kids, most definitely. So that's one of the areas I think that we need to look at. That's part of my platform, and it's probably the most important is mental health. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Next candidate.
I had the opportunity of, like I said, mentioned earlier, being a high school principal and middle school principal, many years of experience working with students and many different programs. So as a principal or as a board member, I try to make sure that we provide the necessary resources to all students, not just your top students. That includes your bilingual, your special ed, your GT, and the rest of the students. So as a principal, I had that opportunity. And so I have the experience that I can make decisions in the best interest of students and the best interest of staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
Yes, my platform is I am here for the kids. I have, I've chose to stay in the classroom because I want to be there for the kids. Sometimes you're the only person they have or can trust when they have problems at home. Also, as I mentioned briefly, or my platform is transparency. We have to be transparent. Whatever decisions are made, you got to be transparent. Then you got to be accountable for that. And then after that, you can build trust with the students and staff.
Thank you. Next candidate.
After working so many years in the classroom at Weslaco East High School, everybody can say we're here for the students, but I've actually seen what we actually see, what has given us the 8 years that, the other candidates have been in office. And in reality, you can see that it's not working. And I am there, I am going to make it a purpose to make sure that students' curriculum is successful for them after high school, and also during high school, so they can become better persons and actually want a career and connect with me and connect with the community and curtail the curriculum so they can be successful after they graduate.
Thank you for your responses. The next question is about school safety regarding gun control and terroristic threats. How would you utilize your term in office to address this growing concern for educators and families? And I'm going to go ahead and begin on that end with Mr. Castañeda.
Can you repeat again the question, ma'am?
Yes. How would you utilize your term in office to address this growing concern for educators and families regarding school safety and gun control and terroristic threats?
Well, once again, the experience with me is that I decided to leave Weslaco East. That's one of them because, I got tired of the same situation that my colleagues went through and the students went through, the fear of something happening like it happened in Uvalde. And to me, I experienced the list of hit list that was posted in the restroom, and one of my colleagues was there on that list. And we were not informed about that list after a week later, and that was allowed by the current board that is existing today. It was under the rug, and they didn't tell us, so therefore it led to a lot of fear in the campus, and that's why I want to make sure that we create a 3-level level of entry into the schools with the police department and creating the police department, like other big districts do too.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
I know a lot of people are not going to agree with this one, but I think it all starts at home. You have to, just like with truancy problems in the past, they held the parents accountable. And that's what we need to do is these individuals making these threats, you need to hold, their parents accountable as well. Also, I agree with Mr. Castañeda about having a police department. Back in the Weslaco WISD Police Department, or have SROs from Weslaco PD there at the campus, and having that presence will deter a lot of the problems we're having today.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
I agree actually with both candidates right here in what they were stating. But, in the school district, we have to train our personnel to learn to follow procedures, whether it's a lockdown, whatever it is. But then we also have to train our students and to make good decisions. The mental aspect that Mr. Victor de la Cruz said is very important nowadays, especially because of the last 2 years with COVID, that those students didn't have any person-to-person instruction. So very important, rules and guidelines, procedures, and make sure that the teachers and the staff and the parents understand what those procedures are, because they're in the best interest of our students. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
Enough is enough. This issue it's time to move forward. Just today, I got 10 text messages from my daughter because she was terrified. She wanted for me to go and pick her up because there was some writings on the wall that there was going to be a mass shooting. Okay? We need a police force. We need to find a police force, and we need to make those changes. We have to educate our students. We need to show them consequence. Terroristic threat is a felony, and we need to hold those people accountable, no matter the age. The people that they arrested today was 4. We don't know if they're gonna try them as adults, but a terroristic threat is a felony, and we need to hold people accountable. Enough is enough. We need a police force.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
Everyone has had very, very good points, so it's just going to add to what we already talked about, and that is that additional measures to protect our children and staff in our schools are to secure your doors and to have security measures where not anybody can come into that school without being allowed into that campus. But something that I learned just recently, and I got this from my superintendent, is that a lot of the shooters have been actual members of that school because they know everything that's going on. So the more that we train our students on being transparent when they see things, not to hold back, the better our chances are of preventing the tragic measures that have taken place in this, not just this state, but in the country. And again, training, and more training. Thank you.
Thank you for your responses. The next question, how is or should the school district combat the competition from charter schools in the area? Mr. Cuellar?
Well, some people don't agree with marketing, but I do. I think the more that you promote the good things that are going on with your school district, all the things that we have to offer, more than the charter schools have, to develop a well-rounded individual is second to none. Weslaco ISD prides itself in having the best programs and the best extracurricular opportunities for students, because when you get out into the real world, if you haven't experienced these things, then your chance of being successful in the real world are not very good. So again, keeps promoting the positives and the great benefits that our students are going to gain by being educated by Weslaco ISD, the right choice.
Thank you. Next candidate?
It is a fact that charter schools have threatened the way we do business, most definitely, and they're here to stay. I do believe in marketing. That's what I went to school for. That's what I've done for over 30 years. Conducting a SWOT analysis to identify what the strengths and weaknesses, the threats that we may have. Competition is good. Competition is good. But one thing that I know for a fact that charter schools cannot offer is they do not teach our children social skills. Weslaco ISD is an expert in social skills. That's reality. That's the real world. You can't learn that in a charter school. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate?
Of course, we need to promote our students' accomplishments. We have an excellent program in KOS that we can market what every school does and all the accomplishments that students have, whether it's academics, whether it's athletics, whether it's the fine arts, whether it's the folklorico, all those, we have so many different positive programs that if we promote them, we can have those students return from the charter schools. Also, to provide more specialized programs. We're looking into dual language at Silva. We're looking at fine arts at Cuellar. We're looking at the medical health professional school that we might promote in the next few years. So there's different programs that if we have those, we can bring those students back from the charter schools. And of course, encourage the parents to bring your children back to Weslaco ISD. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate?
Like I said, I was a product of Weslaco ISD, went through the CTE program with Weslaco ISD, and I think Weslaco ISD does have one of the premier CTE programs in the Valley and maybe even in the state. Their amount of programs that they offer from agriculture to health science to auto body, construction science is really second to none, and charter schools cannot offer that. So that's how we need to promote these programs and keep these kids there, because they will like the hands-on activities and learning life skills that they can use, for the rest of their lives.
Thank you. Next candidate?
Yes, I agree with Mr. Abrigo too. The CTE program is a great facility. You have the FFA, you have the mariachi, the arts, all that it's a great thing. But, transparency and accountability is also one of the things, right, that we mentioned here, all of us. But, how can you believe in marketing when we can constantly be coming out in the news for the past 8 years that this current members have been there constantly in a negative way? So what do you think people from the outside of the community are going to say to us, Weslaco? That is not the choice. But I want to make the community understand that this is, if you elect me, I'm gonna make sure this district is the only choice.
Thank you for your response. The next question. Given the current global pandemic and the limited access to Wi-Fi and other resources for students, what do you think can be done to help support students and families? I'm going to go ahead and begin over there with Mr. Castañeda.
Can you repeat that question, ma'am?
Yes. Given the current global pandemic and the limited access to Wi-Fi and other resources for students, what do you think can be done to help support students and families?
Since I was teaching through the pandemic, I remembered, I would talk to my students, and a lot of them were scared because of the way they thought their grandparents were going to pass away. They were scared nonsense and all these things that they heard over the news and so on, right? All this pandemic has hurt learning. And I do believe that, and believe it or not, the reason why I left Weslaco was not because of something negative. I left because I told my colleagues I was coming back. And I left to help, and I left to an online school. And to me, it's harder to teach in an online school than a regular school. But face-to-face is the way to go with that.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
Yes, I think the best way to handle this, as far as the limited Wi-Fi capabilities, I don't know if it was through the school district or the city of Weslaco or a conjunction of both of them, but I know they established Wi-Fi hotspots around the city in neighborhoods that were labeled as limited access to Wi-Fi. And also, I know I teach in Sherryland, and if the kids did not have access to Wi-Fi, they did purchase hotspots for them, and they issued those hotspots out. I don't know what was did on that.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
I have to agree with both of them because we do have to provide hotspots. And this past 2 years when there was the pandemic, we definitely had to provide hotspots, but we also had to provide the Chromebooks and anything else they needed because they were working from home. And even though it was a new teaching mechanism and it was first time for everybody, but our staff, our teachers did an excellent job because when they came back and took the STAR test, we thought they were going to be pretty low, but they weren't. So the teachers did an awesome job during that time. And also, Mr. Petty mentioned that work with the city. Definitely work with the city because we work with the city to provide the fiber optic cables in the different neighborhoods so they could have access to Wi-Fi and just make it easier for our students and our parents. Thank you.
Thank you for your response. Next candidate.
I mean, I agree, to a certain degree. I think, sometimes Wi-Fi is overrated. I think we need to trust in the old method of teaching. Yes, pandemic came in. I think Weslaco did an excellent job in the transition to technology. I have a computer science degree, and you would think that would be, but I cannot depend on technology. Technology has to depend on me. Okay, and so we have to trust, and we cannot expose and use excuses, because of technology. We need to find a way, and we always find that way, and we got to trust our teachers. That's what it comes down to, the old method of teaching. Thank you.
Thank you. Next candidate.
I agree with Mr. De La Cruz on that. I'm a dinosaur when it comes to technology. If I didn't have somebody helping me with that kind of stuff, it would be disastrous. But as far as providing the opportunities, we did invest a lot into having Chromebooks and hotspots so that would be available for students. But I believe we need to take it a step further because if you don't know what to do with those things, they serve no purpose. I believe at one time we were having packets with schoolwork being delivered to some of the homes so that the students could at least relate to something that they were used to, because this This pandemic changed the way we do things in education with, I don't have the words to describe it, but it was very scary. And because of that, we did lose a lot of learning and created a gap that now we have to work hard to close. But the availability of the
Thank
hotspots
you
for
for your
that is there.
response.
Thank you.
Ms. Bree. And one final question. Retaining good teachers is a challenge. As a school board member, what can be done to make certain good teachers don't leave the district? Mr. Cuellar?
Do the best we can to show appreciation. I have my daughter that's present here, and I hear every day how the frustrations of having to do a lot of extra work to keep up with what's going on. When we went through this pandemic, we weren't prepared for what came, but we found a way. And when we thought we had the answer to one thing, we come up with something else, and then something else. So it was very difficult to keep up with what's going on. So to keep our teachers, we need to keep an open line of communication to understand the frustrations that they go through. And having been a teacher for most of my career, the one thing that I don't need when I'm trying to prepare a group of kids is more work to distract me from what I have to do. So I believe in giving the classroom back to the teacher and to compensate them better than anybody else. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cuellar, for your response. Mr. De La Cruz?
I was asked this question during a town hall meeting that we had. And I went back to the old cliche of bringing the teacher an apple because it shows appreciation. And I'm gonna have to repeat what Ben Castillo said a while ago. Let the teachers work. Let them work. A simple good job, that's gonna make a big difference. After that, you know, a raise. After that, maybe, you know, a bonus. I mean, those things work. And when we implement these things, we're gonna see a change in our teachers. Weslaco has the best teachers anywhere. And I believe that because my girls are a product of that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Mr. Nieto?
Actually, we have excellent teachers here in Weslaco, but in the past few years, we've provided a competitive salary. We're second in the valley I believe La Jolla is the highest paid. Then we come in second, whether it's 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, whatever it might be. But we have to provide resources for the teachers. You know, that's very important. A lot of times, you know, those resources are not provided, and especially now with technology, it's very important. And of course, provide the stipends for those teachers that teach the bilingual, they teach the special ed, they teach the AP courses. That's very important because, you know, but also it comes back to what Coach Cuellar and Mr. De La Cruz said, be compassionate. You know that the teachers do a lot. And that comes from our experience because I had excellent teachers at Mary Hogue, I had excellent teachers at Weslaco High School, but I also had excellent students. When you have excellent students, the job comes easy. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nieto, for your response. Mr. Abrigo?
Yes, just to build off on Mr. Nieto, Mr. De La Cruz, and Coach Cuellar, you have to show your teachers that you care for them. You have to, you know, yes, the money's great. Like I said, I used to work here in the district, and you know, Mr. Nieto and his staff took care of us very well. Sharyland is not one of the highest paid districts in the valley, but we get tacos delivered to our rooms. We get, I mean, there's something every, you know, that goes a long way, especially if, you know, those of y'all who are teachers know that we're just getting, you know, bombarded with new things that we have to do, and that goes a long way. And then does not necessarily have to do with the money aspect, just investing in the human factor.
Thank you, Mr. Abrigo. Mr. Castañeda?
Me being in the classroom and me being at ease for 2 years ago, you know, I would see teachers overburdened and break down, and we don't want to leave. Believe me, we don't want to leave. I wanted to teach my nephew and nieces when they were at ease with me, but I decided to leave because I wanted to do the right thing. That's one thing. And, you know, oh man, hold on, sorry about that. Yes, you know, teachers need to be treated with respect, transparency, and accountability. They want to know what's going on. They don't want to be hitting like I was working there. I might be even a victim of not being paid right because our board members decided to vote on the budget and never looked at the teachers' wages and years of experience. So see, that's the mistrust that I keep talking about over and over because, you know, those are the kind of things that happens under the new, under this board.
Thank you, Mr. Castañeda, for your response. Thank you all for your responses. At this time, we're going to go ahead and move on to the closing statements. I want to remind all the candidates that you have 2 minutes for your closing statements, and I'll go ahead and begin here with Mr. Cuellar.
Thank you. Again, thank you for having us here and giving us the opportunity to answer questions and not only that, but to listen to what other people have to say, because a lot of times you think you have the answers and then you hear somebody talk about something that maybe makes a little more sense. And I'm a good listener. I'm a good listener. I'm not perfect, but I am a good listener, and I do my very best to base my decisions on what's best for our students and staff, Weslaco ISD, and the community of Weslaco. You know, a year and a month ago, I went through a situation where I had to have open heart surgery, and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do anymore. And a lot of people were there to support and encourage me to take care of myself. You need to stop worrying about everybody and take care of yourself. And for a little bit, I thought that I even shared with Dewey Hindles that I wasn't going to do this anymore. But after a lot of soul searching and encouragement, my calling is to serve. And that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, and humbly ask for your support.
Thank you, Mr. Cuellar. Mr. De La Cruz?
I think that all of us up here hold something very, very dear to us, and that's the will to serve. You know, I admire people like Coach, like Mr. Nieto, that are here. You know, a lot of times, you know, being questioned, but you know, at the end of the day, that's the job. We come in here and we expect. But I will tell you this: I've been there. I've been there. I didn't mention I was in the Army, in the U.S. Army for 5 years. I served in Desert Storm. You know, I know what pressure is. I know what it is, and I know when it's time for me to get involved. I'm a city manager in the city of Edcouch. I've been right there in the front lines during freezes. I've been there during floods. I was there through the pandemic. I came out of the military disabled with breathing issues. I knew that what I was exposing myself to out there during the pandemic, but yet I was there in the front lines. I really feel at this time right now, with all the things that I've noticed, with the experiences that I've been through, with my own daughters, with my own daughter, who after this pandemic comes back and has the type of issues that we're talking about, depression, anxiety. These are real things. They're happening to our children. And you know, if I don't take it to heart, then who is? I have to show up. I have to be there. I have to show up to those meetings, and I have to speak. I have to defend those people that can't defend themselves. I just have to. My dad, a deacon for over 30 years, showed me that. And he still gets up there after a year of chemo. He still shows up to church. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. De La Cruz. Mr. Nieto.
First of all, thank you for everybody that's here today. I think it's very informative that you be here so you can learn about all the candidates. But when you put blame on people, but yet Coach Cuellar mentioned, we try as much as possible to make decisions in the best interest of students and staff. The majority of the time. That's what we serving, that's what we do. But when you put blame on the whole board, that is not correct. I'm gonna tell you that right now. Because I, as a person, will make the best decision that I can make in the best interest of students, staff, and the parents. That's always been my job. When I was a principal, as a father, as a godfather, so he's here today, I always make decisions in that way. And Coach Cuellar did the same thing. He mentioned it a while ago. And that's something that I will always do in the best interest of people here in Weslaco. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nieto. Mr. Abrigo?
Yes, I'd like to thank everybody for being here and getting to know us different candidates and seeing that does bring out that, the community of Weslaco is invested in the education of their students. Weslaco WISD holds a dear place in my heart because of my parents. I was literally raised in the district. I remember going to my dad's classroom and shop all summer long to help him clean or whatever. And Mr. Nieto was right about Weslaco WISD has the best teachers. Mr. Nieto was my freshman football coach 30-something years ago. And, he was part of a little part of who I am today. So going back that I will be here for the student staff. My parents taught me, once you do something, give it 110%. And I understand I'm a teacher, I'm an ag teacher, very busy with my students, but I will always be there for the kids and staff of Weslaco WISD. And one more person I'd like to thank is my wife, Lupita. This is new to both of us, and usually when I need something done real quick, I will call her at work or text her like, I need this by tomorrow, and she gets it done. So I appreciate that. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Abrigo. Mr. Castañeda?
Many people think that I'm coming off a little bit strong because due to the fact that I recently left Weslaco and there's the same reasons that everybody keeps talking about, the lack of accountability, the lack of transparency, the lack of fairness among staff, among the children as well, the students as well. Recently I had a student of mine, right now I was at the barber shop and she told me, sir, I want to talk to you. ¿Qué pasó, mija? That's the way I always address my students because I consider them my children as well, right? She said, Mr. Castañeda, can you believe this? My daughter is 3 years old, as a kindergartner at certain school, right? And he was thrown out. What do you mean he's been thrown out? Yeah, he was exposed. What do you mean he was exposed? So he ended up leaving the school. So this is kind of things that occur, it's not talked about, And this is the situation that's just the reason why I'm running. If you really care about students, you're gonna do the right thing for them all the time, no matter what. No matter what factors are included in your decisions, you're gonna do the right choice. Even if you stand by yourself, you do the right choice, and you're gonna create that environment of culture, of family that you need to recreate in Weslaco. There is a lot of things going on that behind the scenes that I want to make sure that's shown in the front anymore. And we are transparent as a board in front of Weslaco. And thank you for coming out and supporting all of us. Thank you once again.
Thank you, Mr. Castañeda. At this time, I'd like to thank all of the candidates for participating in today's forum. I'm going to go ahead and pass the mic back to Mrs. Garza.
Thank you once again, all of the candidates for being here. And again, thank you, Ms. Mora, for being our moderator for the 2 sessions this evening. We heard from candidates from places 4 and 5 at 6 o'clock and from 6 and 7 today at 7 p.m. We thank you all for joining us and being a part of this forum and educating yourselves and becoming more informed voters. And what I mentioned to the last group is what I'll mention here is that the next step is the most important, and that's to show up to the polls and to vote. I'm going to share with you some of the upcoming dates for voting. We are actually a poll site. You can vote here in this room where you're at today, starting October 24th through November 4th. Voting takes place from 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. It will be available as well on Sunday, October 30th from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m.